Welcome to the Arsenal News Show. Arsenal have been advised to sign Wilfred Zaha. See to it that they obviously clinched the trophy. You're going to discuss that in huge detail and see whether it really makes sense or not. Welcome to the Rokani Media Football. How are you guys and where are you watching us from? I go by the names of Rokani David. Arsenal fans, I would like to give you some good news that today Aston Villa has gone ahead to be beaten by Man United by 3-2, and they've gone ahead to really clinch, all get stagnant at 39 points. That's it. Remember, Arsenal had 40 points, and if at all they went ahead to obviously win today, they would have gone ahead to go past Arsenal. They would have gone ahead to be joint top with Liverpool, tied at 42 points. But today, Man United have gone ahead to do for your job, and now it's up to you to obviously go ahead and beat the team of West Ham. That is tomorrow. So smash the like button, comment and share. For those watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Today we obviously bring you the reason as to why Arsenal never signed Luis Suarez, explained to us by Arsene Wenger. We all know that the buyout clause was 40 million pounds plus, and Arsene Wenger has gone ahead to explain to us what really transpired into the mix. Then we are going to talk about Gabriel Martinelli, talking about the language and the players that have gone ahead to obviously cocoon with him into that dressing room of Arsenal to see to it that he obviously gets everything going the right way. So let's all subscribe. If you're watching us for the very first time and you want to get here to subscribe, thank you. Boxing Day is done. We are into the 27th of December. We are nearing the end of the year and hope you guys know exactly what it means when you're climaxing the year. We thank God for the gift of life. The Muslims, Barakallahu Fikum, and let's get into these stories. Now, this story has been really reported via No TP Tepi Football via TBR, and it's Ian Halwey, former manager. He's a pundit, and he is really giving us his view that I've got one. I would go for Wilfred Zaha if I was at the top of this division. He's at Galatasaray, but if I was one of the big ones, if I was Arsenal maybe, I would try and have him. And I think he's the manager of Grimsby, right? So this manager is really saying that he believes Wilfred Zaha is one of those players that can obviously do just to the side of Arsenal and really win. And remember, Wilfred Zaha has been linked to Arsenal on several occasions ever since he went in through and really played his first 2 seasons at Crystal Palace. Unai Emery, while at Arsenal, wanted to sign the player, but Arsenal never went ahead to go for him and went in for Nicolas Pepe, something that most people really believe it was an off signing. But trust me, maybe when Pepe came in through, put in some huge performances, but under Mikel Arteta, he failed himself because Arteta had more he wanted in his game that he couldn't offer to the manager, and the manager said it's really good for you to leave this club, and he left when his contract was really terminated. That is it. So, but for Wilfred Zaha, he was really that kind of player that never caught the eye of Mikel Arteta. To show you that he never caught the eye of Mikel Arteta in his entire Mikel Arteta spell, he never made him a priority signing. He was just on the list. Mikel Arteta was willing to go ahead and spend 85 million pounds on Mukalo Modric rather than spend like 40 or 30 to get in Wilfred Zaha because his contract was running down at Crystal Palace. You know that very well. He went in for Leandro Trossard and he never went in for Wilfred Zaha. Yet Wilfred Zaha was going to be a free agent the following season, and that is the summer of this year, the recent summer. Then he went in for Gabriel Jesus. He went in for Kai Havertz. He went in for very many players. He got most of those, and some of them he never really got them. But the common factor of all this is simple. Mikel Arteta never showed interest in this player. And I know this manager, known as Ian Scott Halwey, who is really at Bristol, who is really the manager of Bristol. I think they're telling us that he played in the Premier League with QPR, where he made just 150 league appearances for 5 spells. All right. So he recently managed Grimsby, right? Has really to get to know exactly where football is going to have to shift. I think he's not well schooled to where the game is moving and the plan of Arsenal. Arsenal have their plan. Trust me, Arsenal cannot spend money on players who are really in their age, in the third decade, in the early years of their third decade. When you look at Wilfred Zaha, he's now 31 years of age. Why should Arsenal go in for a 31-year-old player for, And by the time they could get him on a free transfer, he was just 30 years. Now, if you're really having close to 5 players who can play in the position where Wilfred Zaha really plays, why would you go for him? If at all Wilfred Zaha could play as a centre forward, right? Proven centre forward and was going to hit score goals, you would have said, oh yes, I'm bringing in a versatile player. If at all he would play as a right winger or a right attacking midfielder, you would have gone ahead to say, yeah, this guy is really good to obviously come in through and really play for the club of Arsenal. But he really did none of those. So I see no reason that would have seen this player coming in through and really play for the side of Arsenal. So this manager just loves Wilfred Zaha, but I think Wilfred Zaha even saw it that he cannot even meet some Premier League standards of top teams, and he went to Galatasaray. Trust me, if there were a top team in the Premier League that was interested in signing Wilfred Zaha, he would have gone ahead to accept, because they would have gone ahead to get him as a free agent, and he would have gone ahead to put in a lot of money in his pocket, sign-on fee, but no top team was really willing to obviously sign him. And they went ahead to offer him a deal of £200,000 a week and said, no, I'm not signing. He wanted to go to Galatasaray. I saw him play against Man United, and he even scored against Man United. I was going to score one goal in the Champions League. And I think he's one of those players who are really overrated. When you're playing for a team like Crystal Palace, you are like the one-eyed man in the blind, amongst the blind. Everyone is looking for you to try to make you better. The manager gives you all the allowance to operate. Even if you drop the ball, no one is going to blame you. But when you're playing at huge teams like Man United, like Arsenal, you have to obviously drop that ball and really chase it. And Arteta was fed up of players who are really indisciplined. You get? Because that's the problem he faced when he came in through at Arsenal. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang nearing his 30s. Ozil was also in his 30s. David Luiz, when he brought in Willie, and you saw what happened. So he resorted to a plan of not getting in players who are really old and are really having a big ego. So the likes of Jorginho he brings in through are really very, very, very loyal, and they are not having a big ego. The likes of Trossard, who are nearing their 30s, are really good players. Wanted to bring in Ika Gundogan. Do you know why? Gundogan is a very loyal player. He was with him at Manchester City. He knows his traits, and he doesn't have any dark spot in his career when it comes to undermining the manager. So Arteta cannot go for this guy. He has no reason to sign Wilfred Zaha. Why sign Wilfred Zaha when you're having Martinelli? He can play to that position very well. Trossard can play the position very well. Reece Nelson can do. Gabriel Jesus can do. Edin Ketia can do. Emily Smith-Rowe can do. How many of those players? How many players have I really read? There are 6. You're having 6 players who can play in that position, and why really cause havoc into your team? Certain people think performing at a big team is really an easy job. It's not an easy job. Do you know how many players have failed to play at Arsenal? Wilfred Zaha doesn't have the mentality to play for a big team. Why? Ferguson brought him through at Man United, and he failed to impress close to 1 or 2 or 3 managers at the club of Man United, and was sold to Crystal Palace. That is it. So let no one lie to you that Wilfred Zaha is a player who would have gone ahead to obviously get attraction. If he was all that good, why is it that when he was a free agent, no top club went in for him? If you thought he was that good. So I never really saw his goodness as people went ahead to project it. He was not all that good. He was just a player that he's just a casual player. You get? Trust me, for me, if I'm to go in Crystal Palace, the former Crystal Palace team that he was playing in for, I would go on and really get this player called Olise. Olise is a special player. Dokore, who plays in their midfield, he's a special player. Look at Gehi. Those are players that everyone is really looking at because of how good they are. So let no one lie to you. People are good at trading lies. This guy was not good as people thought. Scoring goals at Crystal Palace is not the same like playing at Arsenal. Arsenal comes in with its own pressures. Before you even walk on the field of play, you have to fight to get on the starting 11 of Arsenal. So if you're asked Martinelli versus this guy, Who would you take? Let me read to you their stats last season and really see that everyone saying that this guy should have gone ahead to join Arsenal, then he's really having naivety about this game of football. Now, look at Gabriel Martinelli. Last season, Martinelli had the following. He played 36 Premier League goals. Sorry, he played 36 Premier League games and scored 15 goals plus 5 assists. That is Martinelli. What did Wilfred Zaha do? 27 games, 7 goals and 2 assists. Now, why would you have a player who cannot meet the standards of the player that you want? And for Mikhailo Modric, Arsenal going mad for him was something simple, that Arsenal thought that they are getting a new star in the making, that they would groom and obviously go ahead and really become good. We see his quality. He's really a very good player and no one doubts his quality. So for me, I don't really agree with Ian, is it Hollywood, that Arsenal would go in for this guy. Why would they go in for him? You know? No way. Admiring a player doesn't mean that he can really meet the standards of the league. If I told he was like in his mid-20s, I would have gone ahead to say, all right, he would go ahead and really improve. But he is even past his prime. We go to Gabriel Martinelli. Has said there are a lot of languages spoken in the dressing room at Arsenal, so we can always communicate as a group, but it's nice when you can speak your first language. There are a lot of Portuguese speaking players here, and that's helpful because you can put into words what you really want to say. Sometimes in English, there is something you want to say, but it's so hard to find the right words. It's a bit tricky, but in Portuguese, it's much easier. It's really good to have those players in the dressing room. We are always together. The Gabbies, talking about Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Magalhaes, Fabio Vieira, Cedric Suarez, Jorginho. It's nice to have them here, and it strengthens that bond too. So you see to it that the manager goes ahead to obviously put in a shift, and that shift is being really given a very good go. And why give it a very good go? It's because he needs to build a bond in his dressing room, and obviously he has gone ahead to build one of the Portuguese speaking people, and that bond really helps other players to obviously grow into the club. And that's why you see to it that Arsenal might even say, we are going to trigger that option 1 year that this guy has on his contract, that is Jorginho, because he brings in leadership skills, and that's what Arteta really needs. That if you're having a leader like Jorginho, seasoned winner, he'll obviously help these players and really take them to where it deserves to be. If at all you want to explain them in Portuguese, you know, likes of Gabriel Magalhaes and so on and so forth, about what he needs them to do, this guy will obviously speak well to them and they'll understand it in Portuguese. Because English sometimes, really, you cannot really express yourself in English very well if at all you are not a person who's going to have to grow in English. Like Martinelli said, there comes a time when there is a word you want to say and you cannot really best express yourself into that mix. Lastly, this story really went ahead to make rounds on social media, and Arsene Wenger has gone ahead to speak about it. He said why he never signed Luis Suarez. We had an agreement with Luis Suarez and his agent, but the agent claimed that there was a clause with an offer above £40 million. Liverpool would be obliged to let him go. To check this was true, we offered £40 million and £1. It wasn't. So this story was known to us for a very long period of time, and Arsene Wenger is going to have to obviously break it, but it was in the media and it was broken by the agent. Now Arsene Wenger is going to have to speak about it, on why they missed out on Luis Suarez. And trust me, if Arsenal had gone to have to get in Luis Suarez, who was the missing piece in the jigsaw to obviously take Arsenal to winning the trophy, and they were just that one player away from winning the trophy, because that team had Nasri, they had Fabregas, they had Heleb, they had Rosicky, they had Vermaelen, Koscielny, Sanya, Garklich, I think. They had very good players, and all they needed was a number 9, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had Robin van Persie, who was an injury-prone player by then, and Adebayo. So, thank you very much for watching. So tell me your thoughts about Arsenal advice to sign Wilfred Zaha. Would you really go near Wilfred Zaha right now in this January transfer window? All that and more into the comment section below. What do you make about Arsene Wenger breaking the reason as to why they never signed Luis Suarez? And lastly, your thoughts onto Martinelli hailing the players that are going to have to form a very huge bond, to say to it that they are really doing good job at Arsenal. May the living to God bless you abundantly. I sign out for now. See you later. The Muslims Barakallahu fikum. Bye bye.